Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. I know it's something you haven't seen in so long. Us
right here.
We're actually in the same room together filming a video. It's a miracle. Today we wanted to talk about some of our favorite books by female authors. This was actually requested by somebody in the comments. I'm sorry, I don't remember who, but we thought it was a really good idea. We decided to narrow it down to 5 for each of us to, keep it at a digestible length. As a side note, we would like to say that although J.K. Rowling is not included in this list, she's kind of a given, so we wanted to pick books that you wouldn't necessarily see everybody mentioning, so before anybody's like, wait, what about Harry Potter? Don't worry, she's on her own list.
We thought about it.
We thought about her.
Let's get started. Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
Okay. So, my first book I chose was The Truth About Forever by Sarah Dessen, which should come as no surprise to anyone. This is a story which I read all the time, every year. It's a lovely, excellent summer book. Sarah Dessen is, I think, one of their preeminent YA authors who really sort of encaptures what it is like to be a teenager, particularly with this book. And there's no going back once you become a Sarah Dessen fan. There is, especially with the way that the work has been going, but there's no going back. This is one of my favorites of all time.
The first book that I want to mention is Sarah's Key by Tatiana de Rosnay. This is a book that I read in basically one sitting. I was sucked into the story. It's a World War II story about a family that is in France that is trying to overcome the situation that they're in thanks to the Nazis. And it's super tense, and you're hoping for this one outcome, but you just don't know if it's going to happen, and it just weaves together such a fantastic plot line that every time I think about, like, what books do I love, this one always comes up on that list.
So this is an interesting choice. If you know me at all, you know I love Trixie Belden. This is one of the original covers by Catherine Kenny. I also love this one because it's got a baby goat. It's now written under a pen name, I believe, because Catherine Kenny is no longer with us, but this series is one of my favorites. You can read Nancy Drew all you want, but Trixie Belden will always be the superior girl detective. They are light, they are for children, they do have pictures, but they are excellent chapter books, and honestly, they're quite compelling and very cute, and have gotten me through so many years of my young life, and I would be remiss to have not mentioned particularly this one, with the goat on the front.
Would you say there's like a factor of nostalgia in those?
There is, yes. This harkens back to like a time in the 1950s when things were simpler, and if you wanted to make a phone call, it was a big deal, and yeah. All the books I've chosen really kind of take me back.
He does look very happy, actually.
Maybe it's a sheep.
You know, it's could be a black sheep, not a goat. That's true.
Would you like to solve mysteries, belong to a secret club, ride, swim, travel, go to parties with the best friends in the world? Who wouldn't?
My second choice is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. This is another book that I read basically in one sitting, so apparently that definitely plays a role in what books really stick with me. This was the first one of Gillian Flynn's that I read. It was right before or right after Gone Girl came out. So it was like the craze was starting, but it wasn't quite at that level yet, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check her out. And this book was so creepy in all the best ways, and now that I have read her 3 main books as well as the little like novella that she wrote, this one is still my favorite. It's just, oh, it's so creepy, but it's so good. It's so good.
First and Then by Emma Mills. This is the debut book from Emma Mills, and it's an excellent piece of YA fiction, which I read, I think, 3 times in the first week that I had it. She is an excellent author. She's also a not quite as well-known YouTuber, I believe, but I was really impressed when this came out. It's a very cute YA romance story, and it's well done, and it's not over-dramatized, and I think it is an excellent collection to the genre, and it doesn't get enough attention, I feel, and that is why I wanted to include it here, because I have read it on quite a few occasions. She has up to 3 books now, which is another thing that nobody knows, and
I didn't know.
This is a signal boost for Emma Mills. She's great. Go find her. Well done.
My third book is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. This was one that I borrowed from the library, so I don't have my own copy, though I probably should. This one is a very like dark noir thriller kind of book, and it's told with not only the normal prose that you see in books, but also with like pictures and files and that kind of stuff. Like if you've read Illuminae, it's that sort of idea where they have things inserted into the story, and I love that in books. I used to love that as a kid, and you definitely don't see many adult books that do that, but Night Film does it, and it works so well. This is one that's kind of back and forth between whether or not people like it, but I really enjoyed the experience of reading it, and I would totally read it again.
Unfortunately, this is a poor representation for the series, but Meg Cabot's The Princess Diaries were completely integral to my life growing up, as I think they were for a lot of us. I remember sitting in the library as a child.
Yeah, your Instagram name is a hearken to that.
Of course it is. Because of course it is. But these are obviously very well done. The journal style in which they're written is kind of similar. Sometimes there's extra stuff tucked in there as
and it's
well.
like very easy to read.
Yeah, it's easy to read. They're good ones. Clearly, I really have taken the nostalgic route with this particular tag here. But the series did not, this ends the series, and I did not love the way it ended, but she has built a very large Princess Diaries empire and really launched Anne Hathaway's career.
You're welcome, Anne Hathaway.
So, really, what's not to love?
Because I used to always see them in the library, and like you're attracted to the covers because they're all colorful
And they're pink
whatnot.
amongst a bunch of like boy books.
Yeah, it's like pink, and there was the light blue, and there was
Books
the
that have
purple. But like, yeah, they were fun. Like, I read a lot of them, too.
5.5?
Yeah, all the little mini ones,
Where she goes and, like, builds the house
Because I would
for
get those from the
humanity.
library, and I'd read them in, like, half an hour, and
This
I'd be
is
like,
why
I read
this
a book.
deserves a mention.
Yeah. Another one that I want to mention is Brain on Fire by Susanna Cahalan, and this is a nonfiction book about a young woman who gets a disease in her brain, and it completely destroys her. And she was lucky enough that she had people that were able to identify what was wrong and were able to bring her back. And this is written by her from her point of view and what she was told by the people around her. And it's another harrowing book. I really like the books where you're like on the edge of your seat all the time, apparently, because that's like every book here.
I like to be comfortable in my reading.
Nostalgia, like the warm blanket of nostalgia, whereas I want to be like terrified on the edge of my seat, like, oh, I gotta keep reading because I gotta know what's gonna happen. And this is very much that kind of book. You know she makes it out because she did write the book, but what happens in between is just crazy. Like nothing you would ever imagine a human could experience and be able to come back from. God.
So lastly, I chose this behemoth, which is Jane Eyre. And Charlotte Bronte, one of the greats. You can't get through life without a good classic, I don't think. This cover still sort of terrifies me because I don't love this painting.
It's not a good addition in terms of the cover.
This is a choice. That was a choice. But it is one of, I think, the seminal works of classic literature. We had to read it when we were in high school, and it has remained one of my favorite books to this day. Just the way that it is put together and the characters are portrayed, etc., etc. I've talked about this book a lot on this channel, especially in a lot of tags that we do together. And I had to hoist this particular copy of it up to my head. If you haven't read it, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, you should read it.
What are you waiting for? If you have read it and you hate it, please tell me why.
I feel like if anybody would hate it, it would be because of the, like, Rochester-Jane relationship, because, you know, it's not great at times, you know, it's not great, but I think the entire story as a whole, especially considering, like, when it was written and everything, it's just, it makes it
I think
good.
It's worth a read these days, particularly in the American socio-political climate. Oh, I just realized I'm going to go get a pencil and some Post-it notes when I get home.
And the final book that I want to talk about is The Enchanted by Renee Denfeld. This is my favorite book that I read this year, 2017, and it's definitely a bit of a different avenue for me than what I've normally read because there's actually a lot of magical realism in this book. We have a cast of characters that are all being brought together because they somehow relate to this very old prison, whether they are a prisoner, somebody who works at the prison, or somebody who is coming in and out who's involved with the justice system, and the way these characters all intertwine and the way the story is told was just like nothing I'd really ever experienced, and it worked for me. It was one of those books that I read at just the right time, and it spoke to me, and it ended up being my favorite, and that's always amazing when that happens. And that's it. Those are our 5 favorite books by female authors. If you have a particular book that you absolutely love by a female author, or you have a few of them, definitely share them down below. Spread the love. Let us know about a few other amazing authors that maybe we need to pick up that we haven't read yet. As always, all of our links are in the doobly-doo. Check those out if you feel so inclined. And
thank you very much for watching. And that brings this video to
a close. Boom!
At it again!